Hello everybody. Let me give you some statistics now before we get into the loopholes and where all the problems are coming. And this affects this loophole or entrapment is, I'll get into that, how it affects the person paying for the care and the carer under the current system, and where we need to fix these loopholes and change them. But let me give you some statistics of who your carers actually are. This was actually fascinating for me, and I've been doing this full-time every day now for more than a year, purely listening to stories. People contact me, evidence, obviously proof, a lot of testimonies, plus the survey. So it's taken me a long time of doing this. Spoken to many people, heard many stories. But let me give you the statistics of the survey, which I found quite interesting to see what we're dealing with. The average age now, this was surprising to me, your carers working out there, the highest, the biggest statistics, so your biggest age group is, which I found strange, it's between 60 and 65. Now that I didn't expect. The second largest group of statistically carers working out there are between 50 and 55. Then your one that ranks third is between 40 and 45. Now, I'm sure that's very good news to most governments, because this is a global issue as well. And I see Australia is facing a problem. I watched a documentary recently, because we have a huge amount of unemployment. Once people reach 45 or over, statistically, someone did a fantastic global survey looking into the problems of inequality and wages and unemployment. From 45 onwards, people's salaries take a dramatic drop in the workplace, and this is factual. It's been done on a big scale. Then once they reach 50, and as most people know, I watched a documentary recently into benefits and social care, social services, and what they would call here universal credit. They have noticed now more and more people, the biggest amount of people signing on that are on benefits are people normally from 50 over, 60, 65, that are unemployed. They cannot find work. Now that makes perfect sense actually, because most companies want to know it's an investment. They're putting time and investing time into that person. So they know you've got 10 years of working life left. They're not going to really hire you because they're not going to put that much time and effort and training into you. They know you've got a short span left with them. So most people, when they find if they lose their job or get retrenched or for some reason, find it extremely hard to find re-employment. So we have a huge population of people, male, female, doesn't matter on gender, which find themselves unemployable. Once they reach sort of 50, it's very hard over 45 to find work. So this will be a good news to HMRC, because we've got a wonderful pool then of people to use as carers, because they're sitting basically on unemployment until pension age. And as we know, we have now a problem. The amount of people going to be retiring, the old age population, our demographics. The UN predicted this a while ago. More people, 1 in every 4 is over the age of 64. So now we're going to have a massive burden, because we're going to have a huge amount of unemployment, and it's going to get worse with automation, technology, AI. It's a massive generation gap. So we've got all these people unemployed, and there's a great need for them in the care sector. Now, according to the statistics and the survey, which I found interesting, questioning what the client prefers in a carer, they prefer someone similar or closer to their own age. What the second preference they do is they prefer someone similar race and culture to them. I found that they've obviously, which also makes sense, that they can relate to the person, has a similar background, interest, culture. So that was another statistic which was quite high. So they don't prefer a massive age gap, I suppose, because they can relate, the same generation. If they talk to them, they can understand their stories. It's not that far away. There's not a big generation gap. So yes, the elderly prefer someone closer to their own age with similar interests or culture. So that's your statistics of the actual carers working out there. So that is good news. We can use that pool of people. Secondly, people always assume, well, they're often seen as domestic workers. They're nothing like domestic workers. you'll find they come from all backgrounds. There's ex-nurses out there. As I say, employment, it doesn't matter, from all different countries. There's ex-nurses, there's psychologists, there are people with master's degrees, musicians, estate agents, former estate agents, business owners, housewives, secretaries, all had lives, families, children. And it is wonderful because live-in care is a very isolated, lonely job. It requires you to go away and live in someone's house 24/7 and take care of them. Now, as a young person who has family or children or kids, aren't going to do that. Or most young children want to, or youngsters want to get married and have children and have a family. So they're not prepared. So their career will be short term. I see in our schools, GSE, we're doing some of the GCEs or sixth form. They're offering NQ1, 2, and 3 as part of the curriculum now for children to study, which is worrying because we know we've got an automation and digital age coming and AI, and it's going to change the way our world is dramatically in the next couple of years. In the next 20 years, it's going to be almost unrecognizable. Instead of us preparing our children in school for this new era of automation technology, instead of them learning coding, programming, robotics, even repairing robotics, AI, all these things, they're not. So we're going to have a lot of children that are going to come out, and we're going to have now the bottom half of our school leavers and the early things are going to be unemployable when this technology and automation rolls in a big way. Plus now we're sitting with the top half of the population, as we know, statistically for a long time. It's extremely hard to find work. We do not need that massive drain on our system, because if most people want free care, we're going to have a problem, because now we're going to have it funded by the taxpayer, plus we're going to have mass unemployment funded by the taxpayer. I think it's better. There are some youngsters working in social care or live-in care, but most of them I've found are working as domiciliary carers, day carers. So these children or youngsters that study, finish school, go out and do the care sector. Some work in care homes. Reason why? It's because it shifts. Shorter days, set shifts, and they can then obviously still have a family life, go home after work, visit their children. They work as day domicile carers, or they work in the office as recruiters, as HR managers or supervisors. They go in, some of them, check. Now, if the office is close, those are the ones that people get checked on. The carers then, if they're working close to an agency office, their manager, their supervisors have time and are able to go out once a week maybe, or once a month, go and check on the live-in carers, or they need things, they need gloves and things, they drop it off. That's where your young population seems to be concentrated. So it is a worrying fact that we're doing this in school. First of all, our clients don't like it. Our clients prefer somebody closer to their age. I see they face a lot of discrimination, but what surprised me, the discrimination they have cited in the survey, is they are more discriminated, which is quite a high percentage, and I'm surprised, by class or financial status. They found they get a lot of discriminated by that. So yes, we've got a fantastic pool of well-educated people. They've had, money, good homes, good education, traveled, all walks of life out there, working as live-in carers, a lot of ex-nurses, people with psychology degrees, all kinds of things working out there. So that was interesting. They're not a silly bunch of people, and they really love it. And as I say, we've got a problem, because if they can't retire, with a retirement age constantly going up, and the intention is to get it up into the 70s, we're going to have people then sitting almost 20, 25 years on unemployment. But you've got a huge young generation workplace. They don't fit in. People don't feel comfortable with them. People don't want someone twice their age working under them. They feel almost intimidated telling them what to do. And a lot of these people have more experience than them. They might not maybe have the qualifications, or they might not be the boss, but I can understand it from that point of view, being uncomfortable for young people having an older person, say 50-odd, working under them or with them or for them. So I do understand that. So I think the government needs to look at that and take advantage of that, rather train those people in that age group. Perfect companionship, perfect generation. So let's focus on the people in their 50s and over in the social care sector, in whether it's for adult or as live-in carers. They are ideal and they like doing this. Their kids are out of home. Some of them are single, married. Sometimes it's the only form of income of the husband, his old age also can't find work. So yes, a lot of these women are off doing this as a second phase in their life. So that's statistics. Yes, I'm surprised. They found they do get abuse, discrimination, as I say, racial discrimination, all kinds of things. They face verbal abuse, a lot of verbal abuse. There's a percentage of them that obviously will have problems with violence. They've had physical violence, abuse of physical violence. The percentage is not that high, thank goodness, but it is still quite concerning, especially when these carers are working alone. And when you've got agencies that are operating unscrupulously, when they know, when the carers reported problems, they're with an aggressive person, they should not be alone in that house. They should provide another carer or put a male carer in there, and they're not. First of all, because, this is where I say the entrapment part comes in for both sides, because the client is paying so much to the agency, because they charge such an exorbitant fee, the carer might be earning pittance or less than minimum wage. The client then can't afford to pay the agency's rate for a second person, for a night carer or two carers. The agency doesn't want to change anything because they don't want to lose their income, their client. So the carer is the one that suffers because the client is really paying too much and doesn't want to charge, pay for double. The carer is then trapped in a situation where they should not be, or that person should be put into a home because they're not left alone, where the carer is now subject to violence, whether it's violence from a family member or violence from the client. Sexual harassment is a little bit higher in some aspects, and there are situations as well where the agencies do not support, and this is a fact, even according to survey, when they have reported problems, they ignore it. They are slow to act. They don't do anything when they've reported neglect, abuse, another carer, a problem. The agencies try and cover it up. They don't want to lose the income, the client, so they will try and leave the carer in that abusive situation. Where you've got carers being sexually harassed by the client, walking in on them naked, carrying on, which can happen with some male clients as well. They don't insist. They don't go around and talk instead of taking the carer's concerns, and because they have human rights like everybody else, don't want to lose the client, going there and telling the client or insisting that with the family, that they put a lock on the bathroom or the carer's bedroom. So when the carer is showering or in a room, in bed or naked, that she is not going to have the client walk in on her naked or harass her or be inappropriate. So these are not taken into account. They ignored a lot. Verbal abuse and, as I say, discrimination. They're treated badly or spoken to badly. Some are treated almost like servants or housekeepers. As I say, this is a problem with the amount of money they're paying, because people see, well, I'm paying a fortune. A lot of agencies are not honest. They're not telling them what they're there to do is actually provide the care. So they think, well, now I've got someone here, well, they can just do my house as well, clean the house, play housekeeper. And some of them will go way and beyond their duties they're expected to do. So yes, it's a bit of a problem, because they now think, well, I'm going to save money. I'm paying so much towards this agency. I'm going to get rid of I'm not going to hire a cleaner. So, of course, the house will get up to dusty, polishing, this and that. So there's all kinds of problems this is causing. It's entrapping people in situations where they're supposed to have two carers, where you get carers. I've had one last night talking about this. I got a call last night from a carer who's in a situation in a one of the better paying agency jobs. So most people don't want to give it up because it's, they get paid so little a lot of the times. To find a job that pays basically your minimum wage, if you work out your hours or just above, is very far and few between. So this carer phoned me yesterday and says she's in a problem. She's looking after, and what should she do? I said, well, this is abuse, and it's first of all illegal behavior. So she hasn't spoken to the agency yet, because she obviously, the money, but she can't keep it up. She's looking after two clients. One has Parkinson's, the female, and the male has Alzheimer's. But the gentleman now, as we know with Alzheimer's or the problems you can face, is waking up 5 times. So it started off with twice a night. So she is working. She's so tired. She said you can't think straight or walk straight. This is not a one-off thing. This happens a lot, where the agencies are not intervening. They're not policing themselves. Obviously, they don't want to lose the business, and they're not going to report themselves or report abuse, which is normal. Most people will try and cover up. It doesn't get out, and there is nobody where the carers can report to. If the client is being abused or a problem, yes, the Care Quality Commission are interested only in about clients if that agency, if it's through an agency, is one as a member or paying the Care Quality Commission. Then they are interested in doing something about it. It's only if the client is being abused there. If the carer is being exploited, abused, as I say, put in the situation, they are not interested. People on safeguarding, nobody is interested in sorting the problem out or listening. They passed on. At least it's a big gap here. There's no oversight of the whole sector. So you'll find now, like this lady, who's now realizing she's going to have she can't do this. It's not possible. The clients don't want to pay because they're really forking out a lot of money. They're not, hiring the carer directly. They are now paying 1,000, 2,000, whatever, a week for this care. It is so expensive. So they now obviously don't want to fork out double or get another carer. And what they're supposed to do, if the carer, as you say, the days are long, and according to the statistics, which surprise me, this is very frightening. I didn't know it was that bad. The actual amount of sleep these carers are getting, the highest statistics is less than 8 hours a night. Second highest, I was very surprised, is less than 6 hours or 6 hours of sleep a night, 8 hours sleep, and a few are getting about a bit more than 8 hours. Your working day, their average working day, that means the time they're on duty, they actually they actually knock off. We're talking about knock off when you're finished for the day, when you're able to go and bath, shower, do your notes, get in bed, talk to your kids, whatever it is. The average actual working day is 13 hours or more a day. Second is 12 hours a day, and a very small percentage are actually working a 10-hour, very small statistics are working a 10-hour day, which means they've obviously got a companionship care, the person's mobile, the person, probably gets up, has a good sleeping pattern. But this carer was now, as she told me by the phone yesterday, was being woken up. The lady, the wife suggested now, because she's so tired, to set her alarm clock. She's waking up at 12, she's waking up at 2, she's waking up at 4. She then gets up again, I can't remember all the hours, gets up, gets the gentleman ready, takes him down, has a breakfast. She is getting off, I think, 3 or 4 hours the entire day. Out of 24 hours, 3 or 4 hours, she's getting that downtime in between whatever it is, breakfast or something else, working, as I say, then until whatever late, and waking up. And as I said, it's not there now. Everybody knows it's not supposed to happen. I said, it's just, you're going to have to do something about it. No, they have to get a night carer. The carer is working 12 hours or 10 hours, or whatever it is a day, and they eventually get off 13 hours. Some are working, I'd say 13 to 15 hours a day. The carer has to get that sleep. If that client is waking the person up regularly, if the client is sick and they might wake them up once or twice a night, they need the toilet, there's an issue, understandably, the carer. But if this is a constant problem, that carer gets absolutely exhausted. It's very dangerous. It is extremely dangerous. And you're not going to provide good care. You can give the person the wrong medication, mix up the medication. Very, very dangerous. And they know, and the agencies know this, but they're not intervening or telling the clients. They're often not telling the clients that your carer has to get a break. Your carer needs so much sleep. And if it doesn't happen, we're going to charge you or get a night carer, or you need to pay for a relief to bring, her breaks. They're not doing this. So this lady, and I said to her, look, this is not safe for you or the client. It's not legal to expect someone to do that. It's too dangerous. You need to, you're going to have to leave. They're going to either have to get somebody else as a night carer in to cover that. So you need to knock off, go to sleep. They need to bring a night carer in for that, all that wake up. You need to get that sleep so you can manage. You are dealing with someone with Alzheimer's all day and a lady with Parkinson's. Very dangerous. But this is not an uncommon thing. I hear that a lot. And when the poor carer is trapped in a situation like that and does say something to the agency that they need, it doesn't happen. Whether the client either can't afford to pay all that extra, obviously, or whatever the situation is, the carer then wants to leave. Nothing happens. And I've had carers where they've phoned and they actually almost feel entrapped. They said, well, I want to leave, and they're not sending somebody. And I can't, they're supposed to send someone, they haven't sent someone, they say they haven't got another carer, and the carer is now stuck in this horrendous situation. And then I say to them, look, you have human rights, you are allowed to leave your work, you are allowed to quit, you can resign or leave. If it's that bad, you need to phone safeguarding and say to them, I'm sorry, I cannot stay here, whether you're being abused, whether you're being, as I say, you're stuck, they say they can't find someone, then you need to phone safeguarding and let them know that you have to leave, or if your leave is coming up and they can't replace you, that you are leaving. Please can they fetch the person or sort out that the person's taken into care. So this is what we're facing. There's all kind of loopholes. But as I say, the good news is statistically that we now have this wonderful pool, which is, and preferred by our clients, of the age group of the carers working out there, and intelligent, educated people who have the time. And the working patterns I found as well that they're working. Some agencies operate on local carers, depending if they're actually living and based themselves here. 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off. Not as high as I would have thought. The majority is a month on. So carers will work a straight month and then they take off, whether it's a week off or a month off, 1 month on, 1 month off. I'll have to check. Then you've got carers working 3 months. Some of the foreign carers come over here, work 3 months straight. Obviously, they're supposed to get their time off. That's why I say it's a problem when they're not getting their actual, working decent hours. No one should be working more than a 15-hour day, because that means they've got 9 hours of the 24 hours left. So hopefully 1 hour of that would be to shower. They're supposed to do their notes sometime, and to sleep, at least 8 hours sleep. Very, very worrying. And especially when you're in a situation where the person needs a high amount of time and attention, whether they have Alzheimer's, whether they have Parkinson's. So you've constantly got to be there and keep an eye so they don't fall. So yes, it's a very, very long, very demanding day and very isolated. So according to my survey, because of some of the conditions that these people are working under and trapped in, and as single carers, very difficult, and they're not getting support, they're not getting anything. They're working way too many hours, they're overtired, they're in abusive situations, no support. And their complaints is, where do they complain? That's what I say, there is nothing. There is nobody that listens, or there's no one really overseeing this entire sector as a whole. So for the carers, that's it. They're stuck in the middle and basically get the short end of the stick. And as I say, not being silly and educated people either. A lot of them, decide this is not it. I'm not doing this. We're losing good people. They refuse to be intelligent, educated people. They're not going to be exploited and abused. So yes, one or two, unfortunately, have said, I'll never do it again. A rental situation puts them off for life. And they refuse to, don't want to be a carer anymore, which is very sad, because it can be a wonderful job, a happy job where both client and carers are happy if it's managed properly. But you cannot, they're human beings. So it's a very scary situation. I've found now, because of this, as I say, when they are now working these ridiculous hours and stuck in these placements where they are, it's taxing on a person, mentally, physically. So I found the mental health side was very worrying. I did, on the questionnaire, ask people if they've experienced mental health since they started caring, not previously, nothing they've had previously. So they had no mental health problems before. Have they experienced now mental health problems, since becoming a carer? Burnout is very high percentage. A lot of them, I'm sure, because as I say, understand, if you know what's really going on in the hours some of these people are working under, lack of sleep, it's so difficult. It just takes its toll on people. So burnout is very high. Second highest thing is insomnia and sleeping patterns. Now this is because each client is different, but everybody knows, if you look at the person that won the a prize now 2017 for his study into sleep and how important our body clock is to our health. It's linked now even to Alzheimer's now. It's extremely important. Our sleep and our body, we've each got body clocks. We've now used to that amount of time or wake up times. Same with our client. But as you remember, our carer has to adapt to that client, and every client is different depending on their end of life, the hours of sleep. So carers are facing huge problems with sleep, insomnia, sleeping patterns affected. Some eating disorders, anxiety, and now a small percentage, but not small enough for me, was suicidal thoughts. When they're entrapped in such a terrible position, suicidal thoughts, burnout, anxiety, depression. What was the other one? Not that many eating disorders, panic attacks, and a few of them post-traumatic stress symptoms because of being stuck in this situation. So that's your rundown of the sections they're facing. But then, luckily, when you've got a situation, as I say, a lot of people now have gone private, self-employed. I think a lot of reasons why I found as well is that the clients out there aren't realizing what they need from a carer, because if everything's done through agencies or they recommend it to agencies, they're not sure even what agencies require from these carers, what the carers need to do the job. A lot of your carers out there, as I say, some have nursing degrees. Now, depending on also which country they've done nursing, some of it's not recognized here because some of them do it through a college or a university and do practical like we used to do in the UK, where you actually worked in a ward online. It's almost on-the-job training as well as your theory side of it. So, but it's not recognized here. Medics, first aid people, some with NQ levels. As I say, there's all kinds of people out there doing care. So it's actually been quite a fascinating experience, but the mental health thing really worried me because we are making mental health patients out of our carers because we have a loophole. We've got this so-called standard, which ACAS and everyone cite to you, but no, well, you're supposed to get 11 hours uninterrupted sleep and 2 hours rest. And I don't think anyone's actually ever really looked at this. It's not logical because depending on the person you're looking after, situation and illness and things, it's not possible. You're supposed to be in that person's house so they can carry on with their life as they're living it. So some of them are expected to do way too much, as I say. Everything from waking up in the morning, getting that person ready. You obviously normally will wake up before them and have your coffee and get ready and changed because you need to be ready when your client wakes up to go and help your client get up, get dressed, depending on what the situation is. Bath them, change them, dress them, take them into, if they're not bedridden, into the kitchen or the lounge and to have then prepare their breakfast meals. Then you're going to go and tidy up, clean that bathroom, make the beds, because whatever, you've made a mess in the bathroom, had to clean, wash, tidy up that. Then you're going to have to clean up the kitchen. And then, as I say, the day starts, depending whether your client is going to now watch a bit of television, do this, go walking, it varies. Every day varies depending on the person. So it's a very full, long day. And it's supposed to be people-centered care. You cannot dictate to the person when you're going to work, not work, when they can go to bed, when you can't say to them, look, I've got 8 hours. I'm getting paid for 8 hours and that's all I'm working. So yes, if they are worked, as I say, beyond, really over 13 hours, that is the highest statistics, very high statistics. So I know that. I've spoken to carers, it's common, 14, 15 hours a day that busy. It's a very worrying situation. when you've got clients paying so much money, it's causing a problem. And as I say, our carers are getting paid less than minimum wage. If we just paid everybody, as I say, legally, minimum wage for every hour they worked, actual hour they worked, when they do manage to get a real break, not on call, able to go and talk to their children, do their email, pay their bills, chat to hubby, go shopping, they have a life. As I say, they don't get much time. You're 24/7 in that person's house. Yes, they don't get paid for that. When they work, this is how it works in the industry. They all fall under a 0-hour contract if they're not signed as a so-called self-employed person. They don't get paid for when they're not working. So they'll work there 2 weeks on or a month on, and then when they take off a month or a week, or whatever it is, they're not paid for that. So they don't get any reimbursement. They don't get, obviously, if they actually take a break, which some get sometimes, but it's majority of the time it's definitely less than half the time that carers get a break. Statistics are very high. Most carers do not get a break. They do not get given that time off for breaks they missed. They can catch up. So if your carer is working 1 week, 1 whole week without a break, full time on, exhausted, and this happens a lot, they're supposed to be given at least a full day off a week. But as I say, if your client is paying an exorbitant fee, they're not going to want to fork out the extra money. So no one's coming in to relieve that person. The agency doesn't make sure this happens at all. It's not happening, not at all. So they're not, it's a minute percentage of agencies, and if the care is possibly close to that agency, and they have a domicile worker or manager, they can go and relieve them. But as we know, we've got carers everywhere, all over United Kingdom, Wales, Scotland, in the country, in villages, in towns, in farms. They're based everywhere. And there's sure as hell not enough domiciliary carers or managers to relieve them. They have far too many staff that they're using that they don't. There's no relief to supply these people. So unless a family member can go there, unless asked to go there once a week then, and give them that Saturday off, a full day off, it's a dangerous spiral. And this is why we've got such a problem with mental health and burnout we're facing. And just sad, because we're going to lose a lot of good people. Anyway, that's enough on that video, and I shall get into too many other aspects. Thank you.